Hello, beauties. Welcome back to the Abundance Club on this fine Monday. You might be listening to this on a Monday, or maybe not. Maybe it's another day, but wherever you are, I hope that you are feeling good. Or if you're not feeling good, that's okay as well. But just a little question to begin with. What if right now you could just let yourself feel good? And that's not to dismiss or just diminish any other emotion that you might be feeling right now, but it's just allowing you to move into a space where you can open up to receive a little bit more the things, the frequency, the experiences that kind of plump you up and make you feel alive and make you feel good. Because I think so much of the time we can tend to get harnessed in the, let's say, for want of a better word, negative emotions, heavy emotions. I know that we're going through a big time energetically at the moment. I could feel that. I felt that over this full moon transit that we just had. By golly, did I feel that. My car felt that as well because I was in a little very minor accident which involved a big scratch alongside my car door and a little bit of an emotional, let's say, meltdown that was tied up in that. So I definitely felt this full moon. I'm wondering if you did as well. And we've just come through the weekend from it. So I hope that however you have fared it, however you've experienced this transition, you've given yourself an opportunity to feel, to honor your emotions, whatever you've been through. I get it. It's all valid. It's all real. It's all beautiful to let yourself feel that. And, just that reminder that that passes. And then we're on the other side and we can then experience perhaps some more of the lightness and the ease and the joy. And maybe it didn't impact you so much, this particular one, as it did for some. So I want to continue a little bit this thread of last week's episode. If you haven't listened to number 40, oh my gosh, it's 40 episodes of my podcast. This is number 41. I'm amazed that I'm here and really proud of myself as well, if I can say that. I know I can say that. And yeah, I think that it's incredible. And I want to thank you guys who are listening, who are tuning in. I had a great response to my last podcast episode. So that's obviously something that's speaking to you. Um, yeah, just thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening on whatever platform, whether this is video through YouTube, whether this is audio through a podcast platform. Thank you for being here and lending me your ears and allowing us to share this space together so that we can grow and evolve together and up level. And I hope that this episode continues to support you. We're going to continue a little bit on from last week's podcast, but don't worry if you haven't listened to it. This is definitely stand alone for sure. And if you haven't listened to it, you might want to jump back in there at some point because we're continuing to talk about the energetics and our energetic frequency. I was actually listening to Anita Moorjani. If you haven't heard of her or read her book, she wrote a book called Dying to Be Me. I love her work. I've read her books. I've also listened to her on numerous interviews. She was very close to Wayne Dyer, who was one of my earlier teachers, and I love Wayne Dyer and his work. Anyway, I was listening to an interview, a podcast interview with her on it. And I was reflecting as I went for my walk this morning through the national park and a beautiful ocean swim. I felt like I just needed that energetic cleanse that the ocean offers. But I was reflecting on her interview and her experience. So if you're not familiar with her story, she actually had a NDE, a near-death experience when she went into a coma. So she had cancer, and it was at a stage where her organs had begun to shut down. Her kidneys had shut down, and the doctors had said to her family, she's likely not going to make it through the night, so prepare yourselves. So she was at death's door, really, and so had come out of her body in this near-death experience while she was in this coma. And she spoke about coming back So coming back into, when she came back, she basically was able to heal herself from the wisdom that she gained, the remembrance of when she was on the other side. And she knew that in coming back, she was going to completely heal herself, which she did within a number of weeks. So it's a phenomenal story. But one of the important pieces of wisdom that she shares around the lessons that she learned on the other side, from being on the other side, is, she emphasizes this importance of needing to know where our energy is at. So she went obviously out from her physicality and felt so much peace, so much expansiveness. She refers to it just being complete, unconditional love frequency that she tapped into, which just, that's her experience of consciousness, of God consciousness, of what is on the other side. So she speaks about the importance of our energy and the fact that we are not physical beings. We're not just physical beings. We are spiritual beings. We are energy beings, temporarily housed in our physicality for this lifetime and whatever other lifetimes we might have had or be having. So many of us in life, many of us do still operate solely from, or live our lives operating from, our limited 5-sensory, 3-dimensional perspective, thinking that we are just our physicality. And her teaching is really about expanding beyond that, feeling into life beyond the veil, the illusionary veil that we buy into in this 3-dimensional reality that we're in, and the fact that we are so much more than that. We are actually multisensory beings living in a multidimensional reality. And that we have access, and I say this in my teachings all of the time, and this is why I loved what she was sharing. It's very much about what I teach and how I teach, but we have access to our guides, to our loved ones, to angels, to the wisdom of our soul on speed dial. She had that experience naturally when she crossed over to the other side during her NDE, that she encountered her late father, her father who had passed, and her best friend who had passed earlier, and an incredible amount of angelic beings and support on the other side. We have access to that now, and often we don't utilize it. It's such an underutilized resource, and I say that all of the time. Many of us are not aware. We're not tapped into the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, and we continue to go through life as if it's a non-reality, right? Let alone it being something that's available to us. And she says that is the illusion. The biggest illusion of all times is believing in the limitation of our physicality alone, and in our mind alone, and in our 5 senses alone. So I thought that was really beautiful, and it's a good segue into what I want to talk about, because what I want to talk about in today's episode is how taking care of our energy is our most sacred priority. Now, this continues on from last week, where I spoke about the importance of energetic hygiene and clearing our energy and making sure that our energy frequency, so the vibration that we're giving off within our energetic field, is clear, because it's our energetic field, it's our dominant frequency, or let's say our dominant vibration, which magnetizes, which attracts in our life experiences. But it can also, this dominant field of energy around us can also hold other people's energies, or energetic ties or cords, which can ultimately drain our energy or create a murky signal, let's say, because we're always giving off some kind of an energetic signal, all of us, all the time. So unless we clear our energetic field, we can be giving off mixed messages. And this might be why you are experiencing things in your life that are undesirable, that aren't in alignment with your hopes and dreams. And it's just a real indication to check yourself, to check in what do I need to clear here? What do I need to know about myself or love about myself? Or, really clearing up your own energetic containers if you're wanting to see a different result in your outer world. So we spoke about that a little in the last episode. So, getting to know and to feel and to commune with your spiritual essence is a pathway into elevating your frequency. So I want to speak to this now about why do we want to elevate our frequency? And you might hear about this around, lift your vibration and elevate your frequency, rise up your vibration, become high vibe, all of this kind of stuff. Let's really break it down, because as a teacher, I like to be able to really look at how can we understand this in a way that feels accessible and relatable and empowering, and not just in a woo sense. So a lot of what I teach is it's backed by science as well. So frequency exists in the subtle realm, in the unseen realm. And our frequency is really a measurement of the rate in which something vibrates. So as I've spoken about before, everything is giving off that energy. And so it's vibrating at a certain level of frequency. So this vibration creates a dominant energetic signature, which impacts the environment around us. And not only are we giving off that signature, that frequency, but everything in the world is, including your desires, including your dreams. They are at a certain frequency. So when it comes to manifestation and wanting to attract something in, this is why I say we attract from who we are being, not from what we are wanting, which feels quite externalized, but from who we are being and what we're believing to be true about ourselves. Because we need to become that vibratory match for whatever we want. We need to literally get on the frequency of that which we are wanting to call in. So then it can find us. When we become a match, that manifestation can't not find us, and it's magnetized in. Okay, it's why we talk about, cultivating our magnetism, increasing our magnetism. So elevating our frequency, it's essentially about aligning with a higher state of being, which brings about numerous benefits on a personal and energetic level. And I want to speak to that a little bit about today here. So high frequencies are also associated with positive emotions. And I don't like using the term high and low or positive and negative too much, because it can feel a little bit hierarchy. But for this conversation, when I'm referring to high frequency, I'm talking about more elevated emotions, more positive emotions, that feel good emotions, like, and the highest ones are really love, joy, peace, and abundance. Okay. That's also linked to our higher states of consciousness and our spiritual alignment. Now, the lower frequencies, for want of a better word, are associated with more of the negative emotions. So they're like anger and fear and resentment and doubt, which we can all experience. And these emotions, if we dwell in them for too long, if we dwell in that frequency for too long, can shift from being an energetic charge, an energetic emotion. So energy is just, or emotion is energy that is in motion. So it can shift from it just being that into more of a physical illness, or stress, or negative thought patterns, or habits that really don't serve us. So this is where we want to be able to ideally shift out of that state into more of an elevated or a higher frequency, so that we can get on the vibration of those dreams and desires that we are wanting to manifest. And we can also feel good in our bodies and avoid illnesses and diseases and things that can manifest from dwelling in those lower frequencies for too long and not shifting out of them. So when your frequency elevates, you start to experience subtle yet really powerful shifts in how you think, in how you feel, in how you engage in the world. So if you have been doing the conscious work in aligning with an intention, a vision that feels right for you, whatever that is, whatever that desire or that goal is. I always call it a soul desire, a heartfelt desire. And if you want to go deeper into that, have a look at the podcast episode where I talk specifically about our desires being like codes, like messages from our soul, giving us information around what is our soul's purpose or our soul intention. So refer back to that episode. I might pop it in the show notes as well. So if you are consciously choosing a heartfelt desire that feels good for you, and you're starting to do some of the work around expanding your energy field, starting to make conscious decisions around what you're available for, what you're no longer available for, around the things that feel good for you, the practices, the people, you are going to begin to have an experience of your frequency elevating. Your vibration, you can say this in a number of different ways, your vibration rising. Okay. So what I'm offering here now in this episode is 5 clear signs. Because I do get asked, how do I know? How do I know if my frequency is elevating? Or how do I know if my frequency is shifting to a higher timeline? Because in order to jump into that higher timeline, we do need our frequency to rise, to elevate. So how do we know? I'm going to give you in this episode 5 clear signs. They're not the only signs, but ones that I've particularly noticed and notice in my clients. 5 key signs that tell you that your frequency is elevating. All right, here we go. Number 1, you feel more intuitive and more connected to your spiritual guidance system, whatever that is, whether that's your soul, your angels, God. It doesn't really matter, but you know, and you are connected and aware and more curious about this guidance system that is beyond your physicality, that is beyond your mind, your spiritual essence, let's say. So you begin to sense that there is more to this world and more to you than your 3-dimensional reality, than just your 5 limited senses. Now, what does this look like in a practical sense? It's a knowing in your gut without any logic or reason. You just know. And the difference when your frequency is elevating is not only you just know, but you start to act on it. You actually start to go, I'm making this decision because it feels right for me. Now, this doesn't mean that it's in the absence of fear or doubt, because they're very real emotions and we are humans. We are having a human experience. So having doubt and fear isn't a sign, isn't a signal that you're off track. It's not a signal that your vibration is decreasing. In fact, quite the opposite. That is going to show up. The doubt and fear is going to show up as your frequency is rising, as you are expanding. So it can also look like a feeling that you're on the right path, even if you don't know what's to come or what it looks like, or there's no evidence in your physical reality that tells you that. But again, it's a feeling. So you're much more in tune with your intuitive felt sense. It might be more vivid dreams. Our dreamscape can really, really shift as our frequency is rising. Not only that, but we're more curious about our dreams. We're more looking forward to entering into that dream state because we're processing a lot in our dreams. We're doing a lot of work with our subconscious mind. So you might feel more drawn to being in that sleep state. And you might even be receiving some guidance through your dreams as well. You're starting to, as I said, act on some of those intuitive nudges and whispers where you may have previously held back and second guessed yourself. You might be experiencing downloads or spontaneous pings or wisdom drops that randomly come through. Perhaps you're journaling it, doing some automatic writing, and just basically feeling like your channel, your psychic channel or your energetic channel. And I want to remind you guys that our psychic abilities that are not reserved for a few in this world. We all have access to that. So how we know when our frequency is elevating is our channel gets clearer. We feel more expansive. We feel more at home in our intuitive channel. You might start to sense energy more, maybe your own, maybe other people. So our sensitivity is a superpower. We realize this. It's not something that we reject. It's not something that we see as a limitation, but rather we start to shift that and see that as our superpower. I've got sensitive children, well, one of my boys in particular, and I celebrate that in him. I celebrate the sensitivity in both my boys, really. Whereas I think that we've been brought up in a paradigm that favors more of the toughness, right? Whereas I think we're shifting and we're starting to really see that these sensitive souls are needed because they're in tune with their environment. They're deeply in tune with their environment. And that is really powerful. Okay. Another sign with this is that you might be getting frequent signs from the universe. Signs and synchronicities. Maybe you're seeing number plates of angel numbers or times with angel numbers that are showing up consistently, randomly. That is a sign that your frequency is elevating for sure. Okay, so these are just some things. This is point one, guys. We've got 4 more to go. All right, number 2. This one is really important. You let yourself feel your emotions. You experience emotional clarity. Now, when I say this is the full spectrum of emotions. I'm not just talking about peace, love, joy, and high vibes all the time. No. As your frequency elevates, you develop a deeper awareness of your emotions, of all of your emotions without judgment, but from a place of love and acceptance. Anita Moorjani talks about this God consciousness, or what you meet on the other side. She refers to it as love, of deep, unconditional love and acceptance. So as our frequency rises, we have more of that acceptance where we may have tended to push emotions down or put a lid on it, thinking that I need to be high vibe and I can't feel my negative emotions. We start to understand that actually the potency, the power is not in suppressing uncomfortable feelings or avoiding them, but allowing yourself to process them with love and compassion for yourself. So this is definitely no positive vibes only, no high vibes only, which can bypass the emotion, which actually can end up lowering your frequency down into more of a negative emotion, right? Because that can build resentment and sadness and accumulation of some of these negative emotions if we don't let ourselves feel. So you are becoming a woman or a man who allows themselves to feel their feelings. When we feel the emotion that's uprising, we transmute it, we allow it to be released, or we alchemize it into a more higher vibrational emotion like love, joy, connectivity. Okay. So we recognize emotions as energy and motion, as signals that help guide your alignment. So feeling them fully allows you to release them, release feelings like fear and frustration, and make space for the higher frequencies like love and joy. Okay. So you are someone who feels their feelings. And an example is, again, if instead of brushing off, say, sadness or anger, like I had last week when I had this little car accident and I'd had stuff come up during the day, I needed to have a good release, whether that's a cry, whether that's picking up a journal and writing it all down, whether that's having a conversation in a safe space with someone that you trust and that you love, and having a little bit of a rant and a process of those emotions. Maybe it's some movement, maybe it's some breath work. So there's just a few options to clear the way for a lighter and more aligned state. All right, number 3, you've established boundaries. You have gotten really good at establishing clearer boundaries. or reestablishing boundaries. As you become aware of the power of your own energy, you are acutely aware of how you feel in certain settings, certain circles, places, relationships, environments, and with certain food and substances. I think I've mentioned on here that as I felt over this last year or 18 months, it was the whisper and the nudges and that feeling that I needed to break up with some certain substances like alcohol. And, we don't necessarily have all of the information to know why that is, but we have to trust that we are being guided. It did not feel right in my body anymore. And you might be relating to this yourself with certain foods or certain substances that you've had. It might be personal relationships or friendships. But the thing is, you realize that you can no longer, where you may have in the past, put yourself aside, no longer abandon or deprioritize yourself or your energy by staying in situations or repeating patterns or habits that aren't serving you, that maybe drain you, that maybe deplete your energy. This is a non-negotiable. So you understand the importance of saying yes when it's truly a full body yes, because you know that your body is communicating to you all the time. So how does it feel? How does it feel in your body? Is it a yes? That's an indication that it's for your highest good, right? And then old things, the things that are no longer a frequency match for the you that you're becoming, the you that you're evolving into, will fall away. They're no longer a match. So know that this is part of an alignment clearing rather than a loss, although it can feel like a loss too. It's like that quote, some storms come to disrupt you, others come to clear your path, or something like that, right? Not all storms come to disrupt you, some come to clear your path. We need to be able to make space, particularly if we are wanting to call in a bigger dream or a bigger vision, we have to be able to make space by saying no and clearing and letting go. So there's the loss of the things that are not a match anymore. Mark Bredner, when he did a podcast episode earlier in the year, he talked about as if like your frequency rising is like going up and a lift to the different floors, and you've got to let a few people off on a certain floor. Okay, so similar kind of thing, but you're locking in that new frequency. Number 4, you begin to attract in new opportunities, new relationships. So from the space that you've created, from your capacity to let go and to choose better feeling experiences, better feeling habits, better feeling relationships, you begin to effortlessly magnetize in new opportunities and relationships, people, situations that are aligned with your highest vibration. And with that, they're aligned with your highest vision. And they naturally start to come into your life. So maybe you're not quite there and you're in more of this process of clearing, right? But know that from the clearing, you're going to start to then attract in more of those aligned opportunities and experiences and conversations that might just feel like an unexpected breakthrough. Okay, you start to experience that. And then the last one is you start to you feel physically and emotionally lighter and more energized, which makes sense as your frequency is rising, right? Your body feels more vibrant. You are naturally nourishing it with foods and substances that make you feel good, and you naturally crave what nurtures your well-being rather than some of the denser foods or substances that lower your energetic frequency. And for me, alcohol, it was a no-brainer. It lowers your vibration. It brings you down. If I'm doing all of this work to elevate my vibration, why would I choose to engage in that to the level that I may have been before? Right? That's just an example. So you're all of a sudden drawn to new practices or habits that might challenge you physically, right? Maybe you start going to the gym, maybe you start lifting weights, maybe you start running, maybe you start going to yoga or Pilates, or picking up new things that are expanding not only your energetic container and elevating your energetic frequency, but they're strengthening your body. And we need both. We need to be doing the energy work as well as the physical practices and the physical movement. One of the best ways to shift your energy and shift your vibration is physical movement, right? We're never in anger and sadness, really, after we go for a big run in the national park, or you go for an ocean swim, or you go to a dance class. Like, go to a dance class and then tell me afterwards if you're still feeling pissed off, right? So we're doing the things that make us feel good. Okay. So you might also just start to feel different, like a newer you. You're choosing better feeling thoughts. Things aren't getting to you in the way, they're not triggering you in the way that they may have in the past, because you are knowing and trusting that you are walking your highest timeline and that everything you need is provided for you. You're able to surrender and let go of those experiences and those the ways of being and the habits that you might have clung to in the past. So it's like you're upgrading to a 2.0 version of you, or a 4.0, or whatever, establishing those different habits. Okay, feeling, really letting yourself. I always ask my women in my membership, as a way to expand their energetic container and their capacity, is like, how good are you going to let yourself feel? How good are you willing to let life get? How much joy and pleasure and excitement are you going to let in? And how much are you going to give yourself permission to drop the stories around loss and worry and fear and the addiction to those patterns that have been playing out? We don't realize we get so addicted to those emotional states. And it's really a cap on what we can call in because of that emotional addiction. So we really upper limit ourselves by staying on the frequency of and telling the same stories and complaining about the same things, right? We don't realize, because often this is very subconscious patterning. This is very much an emotional self-sabotage that we do, right? But as our frequency is lifting, you're going to notice that shift. You're going to notice less resistance and more moments of flow and ease, of letting life feel good. So just to finish off, what are some practical tips to support your elevation? Number one, rest, prioritizing rest. Your body needs rest to integrate the energetic shifts and the upgrades. So you might actually notice that you're feeling a bit more tired, that you're needing to take naps, that you're needing an earlier night, those kind of things. Staying really intentional with your practices and with your thoughts, noticing when you're falling asleep at the wheel, noticing when you're becoming unconscious, and surrounding yourself with high frequency people and environments. We are the sum of the 5 people that we surround ourselves with. So really, this reflects the idea that the energy and beliefs and attitudes and actions are contagious. And we tend to mirror the behaviors and thoughts and values of those that we frequently associate with. So being intentional about who you allow into your inner circle, surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, who motivate you, who challenge you to grow, can accelerate your journey towards your highest potential. So I'm going to leave it with that, because there is a lot in there. But before we go, I want to tell you about a masterclass, a free masterclass I am running on Friday, the 22nd of November at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. This is all about unlocking your energetic vibration and mastery around. So if you enjoyed this, you're going to love this free masterclass, because this is related to abundance and manifestation, which is the key area that I teach in, and how we can expand and increase our magnetism and how important that is in being able to manifest. So if you're wanting to come to this masterclass, all you need to do is click the link below in the show notes, register for free. You'll be sent the Zoom link. I'm giving so much away in this masterclass. You are going to love it. I promise you, you are going to take away really key bits of information and actionable steps that are going to support you on your manifestation journey. So important as we are leading up to the end of the year and moving into 2025. So you do not want to miss this. Register, it's free. I would love to see you in the Zoom room. There'll be an opportunity for Q&A, and I'll also be doing an energetic activation in there, which is going to increase your frequency. It's going to raise your frequency and get you onto that timeline of your higher self. So I can't wait to share that with you. If you like this episode, please follow along the podcast, click the bell notification button, subscribe, whatever platform that you're listening to it on. I would love it if you could give me a review and share it with someone you love. And that just keeps the good vibes going. All right, beauties, have a beautiful day. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you on Friday. Otherwise, in our next podcast episode, I've got some exciting guests coming up to share with you. So stay tuned for all of that. Much love.